Hey everybody, welcome back to Travel Trailer Nation. Today we're going to talk about Mother Neff State Park and what we thought of it. And as most of you know, especially if you live in Texas, that the weather anytime through April going through June is kind of kludgy. And certainly we've had to cancel reservations before based on the weather. And I kind of had this feeling as we were heading towards our departure date that we were going to be on the bubble. I mean, for at least a week it had said that it was going to be thunderstorms for the day we were leaving and the next day down at Mother Neff, and then the weather was a little sporadic. But I didn't jump the gun because I know things change pretty quickly here. Now, the day before we did leave, we got about 3 inches of rain. It was nasty. And with Mother Neff got some rain that day too, a lot of rain, but nothing like what we had here. So, then we decided, hey, it's a go. The weather looked good for us on the departure day. One of our primary concerns, of course, is Eva, because she's a German Shepherd that doesn't like loud noises like fireworks and gunshots and lightning. So really our goal is to make sure that she doesn't have any bad experiences. So if there were thunderstorms that were going to be rolling through Mother Neff during that camping trip, I would definitely have canceled. But, as it turned out, I was just finishing up loading the trailer and I got a call from Mother Neff State Park. And really just about done, about ready to put the steps in and take off. And I got a call from them, and I thought, they're gonna cancel. She's having a fit today, and they're gonna cancel, and that's gonna be it. But instead, they were just calling for a little more information on when we were gonna arrive, and they said they had gotten rain, but the campground was fine, so off we went. So it's about a 2-hour drive for us, and it was really uneventful, except we did have a tire sensor go off, and it was a no signal, which meant to me that the battery had probably gone dead. But as it turns out, it really wasn't that. I'd forgotten to turn on the booster, so it was really operator error. And I was a little surprised that I forgot that. And I will say this about the TPMS sensors on Tire Minder. The battery life isn't very long on those. That always bothered me. But the same thing could be said about the Marcel unit on the S-Pucks, the water sensors. They always seem to last about 3 to 6 months. And I know part of it is here we are in Texas, it's very hot, especially where I have those sensors. And even though we're under an overhang when we're storing it, the heat probably pays a big toll on those sensors. But, that's kind of something you just got to deal with. So we got there, and it took us maybe about 3 hours to get to the park. And part of that was due to the traffic congestion. And the other part was that all of a sudden I noticed Eva could get up on the armrest of the truck in front, so she had somehow gotten out of her seatbelt, the clip on back of her harness, so I had to pull over and put her back in. And but she's a great dog, and was happy to just get buckled back in again. So off we went. And now I'll kind of cut over to some of the pictures so you can see what we did while we were there and a little bit of the history of the park. So it's a small, historically significant Texas state park located near Moody, Texas, which is a really small town. And that's somewhere between Waco and Temple. And it has a designation as the first Texas state park. And it was donated, Isabella Mother Neff donated the park's original 6 acres of land, and that's why the park bears her name. She was the mother of the former Texas Governor Pat Neff, and later he deeded another 250-acre tract to the state along with 3 acres from another owner, bringing the total to 259 acres. And then there was obviously some acreage added after that. And then during the Great Depression, the Civilian Conservation Corps, often referred to as the CCC, developed the park as part of its broader effort to build many of the Texas state parks. And those crews helped build structures and facilities in roughly 58 state parks across the state of Texas. And nearly a century later, some of those park features are still standing, but not all of them. It's definitely not the same park that it was when the CCC finished its work in 1938. It offers a smaller campground with only 20 sites, and that makes it a really quiet campground. And in 2015, they actually got rid of the old campground and had to, because it was flooding all the time, and so they moved that campground up so that up to higher ground to avoid any flooding at all. And where that loop is now is basically where the old barracks was for the CCC. And you can still, our site with Site 20, you can still see remnants of that, like foundations of the barracks just off of Site 20 there in the campground. The park also features newer showers and restroom facilities. And a lot of folks will talk about how it's not really a destination campground. It's just, some place where you can go kick back and relax. It's just a quiet getaway. And that is definitely true. It's a very good description of it. And my only real complaint about the park is that there's very little mowing at the sites themselves. It's about a one push mower width of grass that's mowed around your site. And that's just not ideal for folks like us that have a dog, because it just doesn't give them a lot of room to do their business, and they want to get into the tall grass. And of course, I'm very apprehensive about her going in there because you can't see what's in there, and I'm worried about ticks and snakes and whatever else might be in there. So it would be great if they would mow at least two widths and give the dogs a little more space. Now, the following that I'm going to talk about isn't a complaint, it's just a warning. If they have heavy rainfall like they did the day before we got there, make sure you spray your socks and your legs with a bug spray. They have sand flies there, and I'd never heard of them until we went there. And despite their name, they don't really nest in sand. They hang out in longer grass and mulch. And I Googled about the bugs here because my ankles were just a mess. And my understanding from what I've read is that they come out after heavy rainfalls. So it's just a word of caution, bring something, spray yourself. Man, I'll tell you what, it's been 3 weeks since we were there and I still have the itching red bug bites on me. So just a word of caution. And then the park offers a lot of trails and most connect to one another, creating, several long hiking routes that you can take. The park basically says that the worst trails are moderate difficulty, and I think that's a really conservative statement. The old rock steps that the CCC made are not like an ordinary stair rise of 7 inches. They're a lot steeper than that, and on top of that, I would say that when you get in the woods, those steps get pretty slippery. And there's, leaves and wet leaves. And definitely if you decide you're going to take like the dirt trail next to the stairs is probably a bad idea. But I would just say that people that have mobility issues, that's not going to be a moderately difficult those trails. So just be careful. Now, our stay was met with, very warm temperatures in the mid 90s with really high humidity. And that made the trail walking or any walks with Eva in the park, pretty uncomfortable. And so Eva and I were walking just before dawn. And then the rest of the day, we just kind of, hung out at the campsite outside. And we did take the trails to the old water tower, the lunch bench where the CCC used to have their meals. And we went down to the cave. And obviously, we chose the shortest route to get to those just due to the heat. And even so, not really a short walk by any means. And Eva absolutely loved the walks, but she is up for everything and anything. And for a dog that's never grown up in a house with stairs, she had no problem going up all the steps to the water tower. And when she got up there, she jumped up and looked over at the park, which I thought was really cute. She's really a really smart dog and operates at about, maybe a 4-year-old's human intelligence level. And I got to tell you, I think life would be, incredibly boring if I didn't have her with me. Um, I've never had a dog that loved camping as much as her, and I've never had a shepherd that was up for anything and everything the way she is. Now, the Tonkawa Cave is about a 10-minute walk from the picnic table, and it's definitely well worth the short hike. Native Americans used to use that cave as a living area, and it doesn't take long to understand why, especially once you step in there and see what kind of protection you have from the elements. Gives you really good protection from the sun, wind, and rain, and certainly offers a glimpse into how people might have lived long before that park ever existed. And then not far from the campground loop is a trail that leads to the new bathroom and showers. And on that path, you can find that the CCC actually created a barbecue pit. It's actually 3 barbecue pits. And it is Texas after all, so someone's got to be making barbecue somewhere. And it's, even though it's kind of in disrepair, you can still definitely see what it was and what was behind it. And there's more to see at the park, like the pond and the dinner bell. But in our short 4-day stay, we just didn't get to see those, mainly due to the sandflies at the park. And like I said, Eve and I were always taking really, really early pre-dawn morning walks on the roads. And then one thing you're going to notice about this place is it is like overpopulated with deer, and they are everywhere in the morning. And they don't seem to be too intimidated by people at all. We got within 6 feet of one on the road, and it just didn't want to move. And I wasn't trying to approach it. I wanted to go around it. And it finally decided to head into the woods. But man, I'll tell you, it was interesting. They are not afraid. And typically you'll see 3, 4, 5 of them together. It was just a lot of deer. I was pretty surprised. So, here's my final thoughts on Mother Neff State Park. If you want to get away from it all and you're looking for a quiet park and some decent trails to hike with your significant other or your puppy, this is the place for you. And like I said, the only real caveat to that is if they're getting rain or had heavy rain, just make sure you take a good, insect repellent with you. Secondly, if you're into history and you're thinking that, this is going to show you a lot of what the CCC can do, you're probably going to be a little bit disappointed because some of those structures are just not there anymore. But the ones that are there are interesting anyway. But like I said, it's not really a destination campground. It's really more of a getaway park, and I can see why someone might want to stay there for a few weeks if they just wanted to get a nice quiet park to hang out in. And we liked it enough that we're going to go back in October when the weather ought to be less wet and cooler. So that's my summation. I hope you found it interesting. I tried to get through it as fast as I could because I know sometimes these reviews I do kind of drag on. But anyway, that's it for now, and until next time, happy camping.